What's going on?
Is it me?
No, it's my thing.
Oh yeah, what?
It's
That was
not
a silly.
showing it's not showing me what it should. Where are you? Okay. All right. So it's streaming? Okay. Well, sorry for the technical issues, guys. If you're just now tuning in, things are things have been an absolute hectic week for me. So I'm sorry I haven't been on. But with that being said, I know that it's been an absolute hectic week. Um, and I know that there's a lot that we need to catch up on. However, with what I've been trying to do in bringing people in and keeping people at the table for a conversation and keeping friends and family from going too far left or too far right, I thought it would be great to bring in one of my old friends who I used to go to him for the perspective on the left, and there's been a tremendous change in him that I have seen, not just in his political viewings, but in just maturity and taking care of himself, and he's successful now, and it's really amazing to see. Um, so I really wanted to bring him in so that more people can see what he thought of, what he saw, what he's thinking, and what's leading him now to the path of conservatism. And I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but he seems to be more to the right than I am, which seems a little rough to me, but we'll see. um, because I like my perspective is like Donald Trump's not doing enough. He's still too nice. So with that being said, I want to introduce you guys to Kareem, an old friend of mine, and the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It really is a pleasure to join you on your show and get to have this conversation. I know that you've been curious about it, and I know there
Very.
has been a dramatic change. So I really just wanted to have the conversation, and this is just like a benefit that if anyone has been experiencing anything similar, that they could hopefully tune in and identify with some of the things that I like to talk about.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but for years you were an absolute outspoken. What would you consider yourself, a leftist, a Democrat? What did you consider yourself?
Yeah, so I ideologically was of the progressive left strain. I was born and raised in New York, born in Queens, grew up on Long Island, and grew up like in this stew of you know late '90s, early 2000s multiculturalism. Uh, that really New York is kind of like the epicenter of for America anyway.
Okay.
And I brush shoulders with all sorts of people, different races, different creeds, gender identities. I mean that's nothing new to me. I'd spent a lot of time in New York, um, so I grew up as a leftist. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you consider yourself now?
Well, to articulate it in in layman's terms, because it is quite complicated, and asking people's political ideations is quite strange these days, because one thing means you're a strict adherent of these principles and you're not allowed to
Fully
entertain
agree.
any, right? So I would consider myself a nationalist, a protectionist, um, an America first patriot. I think that embodies uh, the characteristics of my politics.
Okay. So I always say the same thing. And so I've always, well, at least ever since I've really gotten into politics, I've always considered myself a new age conservative. And what I mean by that is like the GOP, I don't like them.
Mhm.
Most when conservatives think conservative, they think, hyper religious, da 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 da. I
Mhm.
am none of that. right? But I agree on all the principles.
Right.
Um, so and I think that's kind of one of the great things about our side is you and I are going to disagree on a lot of things. I think we already have even just in our little chats,
Right.
but it's about the 10% other than the 90%. Like, no, no,
Hmm.
no. It's 2 days, not 3 days, instead of just completely
Right.
different topic, you know? Um,
To that point, by the way, I think there is a lot more diversity on the right than people give it credit for. In the news, if you're watching the news all the time, they'd have you believe that uh, the entire right is MAGA, and MAGA means this thing in particular, and no one else. Uh, and they don't disagree, but that's not true. There is seismic activity um, in the right, and a lot of diversity of thought.
so, I guess with that being said, my I spend a lot of time talking to all sides, everything like that, trying to gain perspective. So when you were on the left, you 100% believed you were right, and there's one conversation in particular that I remember between us that I learned so much, and it was during the George Floyd riots, and you were explaining how destroying your own city is a message to those around you, and that if we could destroy our own city, um, then somebody has to listen. And you put it much more eloquently than I did. Obviously, you've always had this gift of gab. Um,
I probably threw in a little MLK, and well, because he speaks to this as well, to that uh, way of, and I completely disagree with it today. By the way, but I did have a way of putting it in a way that does sound reasonable, and again, a lot of leftist principles. Again, I'm coming from the left. It all is reasonable, and to your point of believing, I was convinced it is easy to feel convinced about something absent a lot of other information. And I think that's what the left is struggling with the most, is that they are too insular and they don't accept any other. And
mhm.
like I said, there is diversity of thought. Some people are extremely correct on one thing while others are so far off the mark. And you might find someone who's more correct on the you see what I'm saying there,
Oh,
where it's not like a right-leaning person is right about everything, although I think we are.
yeah. um, yeah, no. So another way of putting that, because wow, I am seeing a lot of you tuning in right now. Wow. Okay. Also, if you guys have a question for him or anything like that, the chat, it takes like maybe 30 seconds to a minute. If you want to put in a comment, sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't. Just so you know. Um, So the way that I've seen it, and I have a theory to share with you in a while that I just found out that makes things make so much sense. The once you disagree with the 99% of what they have to say, you are now no longer with them. You are no longer in the tribe. Did you feel that when you were still on that side?
Right. So you're talking about how insular they are, and that if
Yep.
you don't agree with specific principles, then they do outcast you. It's very hard to find a cohesive uh, or a disparate, actually, left where they you know don't agree on things, but then they get along. It's like, no, you have to believe that gay people are married
Mhm.
per se. Um, I did experience that, but more so because when my transition wasn't a soft or subtle transition at all, it
Mhm.
was, I was overdosing on rape.
Yeah.
it was, it was, um, and I do have a theory about that as well. Because once you grow up in a blue pilled environment, um, and you're highly blue pilled, you're a strict adherent of this kind of intellectualism, and you know your history, you know your economics, or at least what they teach. That once you take one red pill, it's 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 easier for your eyes to be awakened to a lot of things, because I do have know a bit about about American history than I would say average your average, and I'm an average person myself. I'm just saying I'm interested in this stuff is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
um but anyway, yeah, there is an outcast feeling when you're leaving the left. Um, they want to completely ostracize you, excommunicate you from their tribe.
Oh, and yes, I am streaming on Facebook Live, Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. Um, so I guess another follow up on that is, did you feel a pressure to follow whatever was trending? Is it like, I think that was the question I was really trying to get to. Well, was there a social pressure like if I'm not outspoken on this, then I have no reason. I'm not a good person, or some kind something to that degree.
No, I mean, most of the things that I feel passionately about and would want people to take notice in, I believe are things that are actually matter. So a lot of the social pressures, I just ask the pertinent questions. I mean, is this real? Did this happen the way that people are saying it happened? I think oftentimes people jump to conclusions. They're watching too much of particular media, or they're only reading certain sources. They're not investigating anything. So that's why they feel pressure to hop on a particular bandwagon. I would assume. I don't feel that kind of pressure because I really just want to understand things as they are. Yeah.
Oh no, you're doing a good job. Thank you. Um, so already people are asking, what was the switch? What was that? What made you flip sides, especially so dramatically? It seemed almost dramatic. Like I thought you were faking it for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. You're not the only person who said that, by the way. Um, Someone else was like, I didn't know if this was a real account or not.
Yeah, I at first I thought you were hacked, and then I thought you were doing the well. I'm gonna go so extreme, and I'm gonna probably like once I've snuck in long enough, I'm one of them. Then I'm gonna start leading them down the wrong
Oh,
path, or like I'm sitting there like, yo,
like a secret, a double agent or something.
yeah. So what
No.
happened?
Well, it seems awfully dramatic, and I did say that, you know, once you start taking red pills, you want to go all the way. But it was gradual in a sense where this dates back like to 2020, like the COVID
Hmm.
era, talking about that election too, and everything that was going on that entire year. The summer of love, George Floyd,
Yeah.
um, everything happening during that year. It was such a tumultuous year, and I genuinely was an adherent to leftist ideology and uh, did believe in all of the narratives that they tell us. I mean, we get so emotional about things that we barely even ask some of the basic questions, because it's like blasted in our faces all the time. And look, I no one wants anyone to be killed by law enforcement, least of all. Um, but we really never, as a country, and I'm not even talking specifically about certain demographics, but
Hmm.
this Black people in particular. But we're not designed to take a step back and really analyze situations. And that year is really what taught me uh, what kind of control that the system has over us, because you had George Floyd, like I said, you had COVID, you had the election, the disinformation campaigns, and all of that. So that's when I realized that this whole thing is kind of like fake, um, top to bottom. Like, I'm not even talking about like Democrats. Oh, they're so full of shit. I'm talking about all of them. I mean, the whole system is fake, and they spend an extraordinary amount of money and effort into trying to control our minds. So I just started reading other people. Like, I actually did start to read the other side. That's the thing about being indoctrinated in a particular, like I said, growing up in New York. Like, I really did read liberal authors and
Hmm.
uh, Just the entire everything was liberal. So I did start to branch out, and because I couldn't trust anything. Once you realize that you can't trust it, then you start to say, okay, I need to take a step back and gather more information because I'm not trying. I trust this way too much, and gradually, and this coincided with me starting a family as well, and um, I mean, I think it is true that when you're going through transitions like that, it does change your perspective. It's not lost on me that this is all happening as
Yeah.
as I'm stepping into new roles and responsibilities. Um, but the catalyst really was that tumultuous 2020 year. I hope
Okay.
that.
No, I think it does. It's a good job. I feel like we can't even trust media anymore without really researching everything. AI is getting insane, but even before that, so many lies from all sides. Absolutely. So to play off of what you said, one of my theories that I've come up with, is that that side is actually the natural state of being for us as humans. And what I mean by that is for throughout the entirety of time, we have adhered to authority.
Mhm.
And the reason behind that is if we didn't adhere to authority, if we questioned authority, we were killed, right?
Mhm. Right.
You don't question the crown, you don't question the chief. It doesn't
Right.
matter what. So the way that we think now is actually it's an anomaly, right?
Right.
And it was bred into us, because those are the ones that survived, the ones that all you did is dig potatoes and you took whatever authority said. You
Right.
survived. So that's kind of where I stand when it comes on that. A lot of people they have this issue with you don't even need to hear the other side out. Well, at least give them a chance.
Mhm.
It's not somebody's fault for being ignorant, but it is their fault for staying ignorant. Um, and I also, me being who I am, I have the strong belief that anybody that has the same information that I do is going to come to the same conclusion, right?
Yeah, that was hard for me to accept as well. Is that we could be talking about the same things and know what the inevitable conclusions are, but you feel differently about them, and you want to steer it to a different. I mean, right. So I agree with that. That people have the facts, but they don't know how to interpret the facts
Yeah,
sometimes.
but fully
So
agree. Um, so my entire thing is, again, like I've been trying to do with this show, I try to bring people together. I want people to challenge my ideas on things. I want people to come in from all sides and get together and big kumbaya, because at the end of the day, even if I think that somebody has all the info is going to agree with me, the main important thing for me is that we have the same understanding that you want what's best for your family and you want what's best for my family, and I want the same for your family and mine, right? We sit down at the table
yeah,
and we are going to argue, but we're not arguing on the intent. We're arguing on the best road to get there, right? Um, and the reason I bring this up is because the next question is when you were on that side, did you have that same intent?
it was the same intent, and this is how it goes when I mean, we have silos all over the country. We have cultural pockets. People have their beliefs. It is what it is. I mean, it's a diverse place, and when you grow up how I grew up, you genuinely do believe that it's coming from that the means are good and noble in nature,
Hmm.
and must result in positive results because you're good intentioned. So that's genuinely what I believed.
Yeah.
uh, no, I think otherwise.
So, whenever we did have our talks, uh, did you, like, especially how we're talking now, would you take it as a personal attack when I disagreed with you? What happened with that? Or what was going through your mind when somebody like me would disagree with you?
Yeah. So on many of these issues that the left ascribes to, and this is why they're in the predicament that they're in, by the way, is because they're not going to be able to adapt. Um, if you're disagreeing with this particular thing, then you are not just disagreeing with me, then you are a bigot or
Hmm.
a racist. Today is tantamount to like being a murderer or something.
And if you're a racist, you're to be fought. You are to be
Yeah,
ostracized
yeah,
from
yeah,
society.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want a racist near me. You don't.
Yeah,
Like, get out of
not,
here.
not even just about outcasting the racist or ridiculing them or telling them that, oh, you need to do better, shame on you.
Yeah,
Uh, we're at the point where they want to kill the racists now,
yeah.
or quote unquote racists, quote unquote bigots, quote unquote Nazis, right? So that's what it was. I mean, I wasn't like that. I just genuinely thought that, people were lacking in information. And if they grew up in the institutions that I grew up in, that they would feel or think otherwise, come to different conclusions. So ultimately thought it was an ignorance problem while I was ignorant of all this all this other information. So it's interesting. Um, yeah.
So, oh God, I had one and then I lost it. The, uh-oh, I completely lost it. Um, oh, I'm sorry.
You were on a roll. These are great questions.
um, when it comes to the issues of today, and I don't know if you saw the previous videos, but in quite a few of the videos I've done before, we've done deep dives into the words. Like you brought up Nazi, fascist, racist, yada yada, right? Um, and we did a deep dive, and my friends over in Europe, my friends here in the States, I had them pull out the physical dictionaries that they had, and it didn't match up with what I could Google in Bing and whatnot. The words were slightly changed to be more obscure. So instead of a racist being somebody that believes that one race is over another,
Right.
a racist is now somebody that believes that small characteristics can make somebody better than another from one way or another. And there were different versions of this.
Right.
Um,
Right.
which, and the example that I have is my mutation of red hair. I don't feel pain the same way. The blood vessels are closer to the bone, the nerves are closer to the bone, so I don't feel pain the same way. That doesn't mean that I'm better than you. Like
Mm.
it, you're gonna look the same way till you're 80. I'm gonna grow completely change when I turn 50. Like
Because of my dad. I mean, he's a good looking guy at his
that.
age. So
And that's just one of the benefits. You had the stats put in when you were born. Like it doesn't mean that you're better or worse though, right?
mm.
But with the descriptions that I was reading, me even saying that makes me a racist.
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
Today, right? I mean, and it's even beyond that because you have people who are saying who are not adhering to any single one definition, but they're saying particular microaggressions are racial violence.
Yep.
Violence, call it. Um, so you're playing the wrong game when you start pulling out these dictionaries and starting to ask for logical or anything like that. That's not how this works anymore.
Yeah. So that's just it's so insane to me because words are violence. Well, violence is violence. There's a huge difference. Violence should be met with violence, right? And the term microaggressions and everything that surrounds it, and when they're using these words, fascists, right? And that was a huge topic, which I know you're watching, Royce. We went on for maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, going down this list of is Donald Trump a fascist? And out of 14 points, there were maybe 5 that I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see that, but the rest were not there.
Were
Unless
they
if you
clear
change,
cut? Were they clear cut, or could you see how that could be interpreted as fascism? Because that's the thing. When
Correct.
people are trying to talk about fascism, you know, this is one of those topics, ideologies, whatever you want to call it, that's been highly debated since its inception. I mean, political scientists since the 20s and 30s really can't look. Yes, of course, authoritative and controlling measures over the economy, all the planned economy, all that stuff. Um, but you could take some of those definitions and apply them to actions that we have in this liberal democracy that today.
Yeah.
So when people say fascist, I, for one, know that they're just saying that because they heard somebody say that. Let's just put that out there. Okay. Um, but secondly, I do think it's disingenuous because it is a reach to call Donald Trump's administration fascism. He's not a fascist. You know
It,
what I mean?
and I think the quickest way to dismiss that is if you have to sue and you still lose, you're probably not a fascist.
Right. Correct. You know. Uh,
Um, Also, the Bible is the same way. A friend of mine, I don't remember what this is talking about. We've talked about it a lot. The Bible's the same way. A friend of mine compared his Bible to his grandma's Bible, a Bible she gave him, and they were slightly different. Oh, yeah. So that's also a huge ordeal. That's probably a topic for another time, but the changing of doctrine, yada, yada, yada. Very good point. And then, no, I believe racism has an element of hate in its nature. Okay, so
what
just
is what
I'll
is
go.
hate?
So
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is because things are called hate crimes. Okay. Are there crimes, violent crimes committed on a racial basis? Yes. Which ones are the highlighted ones that get more scrutiny and draw more ire from the world? Are these are attacks by typically white people against people of color, right? But violence perpetuated on the basis of race, solely race, is not common at all. For race to be a factor, as in they maybe feel animosity towards some groups sometimes and they engage in an act of violence, but it wasn't solely about their race. I'm not sure that's a hate crime, even though race is a part of the crime. Do you see what I'm saying?
yeah, I agree.
So again, with these, there are a lot of words out there and a lot of, people ascribe these words to everything. It's like hate crime, Nazi, bigot. And it's like we gotta break this stuff down first.
And well, it's more that we have seen it throughout history. I believe he's talking about the fascism that we were talking about. It's my buddy that I debated with last week. Um, so, you know what? Just because this was a point of contention, did you know much about Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, I watched a lot of his career. Wasn't a fan when I was, on the left, but he was to me what I saw Charlie Kirk as was the ambassador of this kind of diet conservatism that we have today. And granted,
That's a good way of putting that. Diet conservatism.
I mean,
Continue.
it is. A lot of people on the left would say that that's not true. And to their credit, I mean, yeah, the right is a little bit more racialized now. The right is a little bit more identitarian, and that's due to the Trump. Yeah, I mean, all that's true. But what Charlie Kirk is acting as, because truth be told, the American base, the base of the right is actually more to the right than the Trump administration is.
Yes.
So what Charlie Kirk was a stopgap measure. He was like a valve. Um, he would be the proponent, the mouthpiece of a lot of these sometimes edgier talking points that the Trump administration needed to appeal to in order to. I mean, he was a media guy. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Ran a huge organization, Turning Point USA, and of course, he was a staunch ally of Israel. So that's about as Trumpy as you can get, and he that was his purpose in the conservative movement.
Okay. One of the big contentions, and me and him got sidetracked on it for quite a while. Do you think he was racist?
Do I think Charlie Kirk is racist?
Yeah.
And I don't. Okay, so what does that mean? What racist? How? I need a better question than that.
So, one of the quotes that was brought up is he was talking about.
And I'm not even
No, go
sorry.
ahead.
I sound like I'm being rude or whatever. It's
No,
like
you're not.
not trying to direct my ire at you, but
No,
I do
you're
well.
you're not
Can,
offending me.
okay, okay. Go ahead,
Don't
brother.
worry about it. And also challenge me because it's only going to make me better anyways. Um,
Fair enough.
so one of the points that my buddy had was I brought up this list of things that he said, and every single I proved most of them wrong in a video, and my entire point was how many of these lines have to be wrong until you believe that your sources are wrong. You know what I mean?
So
Um, and one that I
you
brought up, go,
agreed with Charlie Kirk's points. Is
yeah.
what you're saying? You
So
debunked. Okay.
I debunked what the left when he died. A list was
Oh, oh,
sent
oh,
out and went viral,
right, right, right,
and I debunked it along with other many other people.
right.
And one of them was that he was racist because one, the DEI pilots thing, and two, he was calling black women stupid. And the points that he was making was DEI shouldn't be a thing because uh, I shouldn't look at a black pilot and go, oh, the standards were lowered, that's how he got in. And then the second one was he was directing the stupid remarks at very specific people that were saying that the women themselves claimed that they were in those positions because they were black.
Okay. Well, it's two things, right? The black pilot's comment can be distilled and understood like this: if there are programs that exist in the country that make decisions, hiring based decisions, decisions about qualifications based on meeting quotas that meet specific political motives, like we want to appeal to certain people, so we're going to make this policy. And if those policies exist in sectors of the economy responsible for our safety, like air travel, you can see how someone could get on a plane, sit down in their seat, do the elbow test. They look at the elbow of the pilot. No, I'm kidding. And they see a black elbow. They question to themselves, "Damn, I hope things are so weird. These things are so wonky these days with the hiring practices, and they're doing things just to get black people, or a black woman, or Indians, or whatever. Because it doesn't have to be black. That I wonder if this is the most qualified person in the cockpit, because that's what I'm concerned about when I get on an airplane. I don't give a fuck who they are, but I wonder now because of these policies. I want it all to be merit based, and that is the point. I think that was Charlie's point, that we should move more to a meritocracy, which I'm not even 100% on board with, but a meritocracy to be the standard for our hiring practices.
Oh,
And the second point, and I don't know what Charlie was talking about when he was talking about. You said he was talking about specific black.
Joy Reid, Michelle Obama, and two others
Yeah.
specifically.
Well, Joy Reid is a Harvard graduate, but she's doing very dumb things. Okay, I think it's very smart actually, but she's appealing to dumb people. That's what she's doing. She's saying dumb
Yep.
things.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if you were someone who wanted to care about what was true and don't want people to say dumb things to dumb people, you would call that person dumb. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Um,
Uh, but additionally, black women overwhelmingly voted for Kamala Harris. we got we got to talk about that, like, and be real. 92%. That's like the biggest. You just never get 92%. So something's going on there, right?
God. Oh man, that was a little brutal. Not gonna lie.
So
Ah.
You know, that to me doesn't shout, I'm voting because I'm an educated voter. That doesn't. That's not what that.
So, Royce, if you're watching, which I know you are, I think he answered what I was trying to say far better than I did. So, thank you for that.
You know, uh,
Uh,
I never wonder. I don't know if I have black pilots or white pilots. Sometimes I don't even see. You know what
yeah.
I mean? It's not something I've ever thought about or considered. But when I hear Charlie say it, I don't say this guy is a fucking racist and he hates all black people. That sounds a little dramatic. I think I know exactly what Charlie's talking about, and we could simply solve this problem by being more strict about merits,
Hmm.
caring very little, precious little to none about actually quotas or diversification. I don't care if they're women. I don't care. I mean, they shouldn't. Let's just be real. But um, I don't care if they're black or whatever. I just want the most qualified people.
All right. So that answered that very well. There's two things I want to go on. I'm trying to decide which one. All right. Let's get into this conspiracy that it's not really a conspiracy. It's just a theory. Um, that I heard about the left, and I kind of want to see if it makes sense with what you know, right? So I heard this theory that Occupy Wall Street. You're familiar with it?
I remember, yeah.
Okay. So Occupy Wall Street was so effective in its goal that after that, the billionaires and everyone that was affected and lost all their money decided to infiltrate the left with identity politics so that they could never unify again because they were so effective before 2012.
Right. So you're talking about the stock, the crash, the recession,
All of it.
the fallout. I guess what I would say to that is identity politics, while it did coincide with Occupy Wall Street, was something that the left had been grooming and orchestrating for years prior to um, Occupy Wall Street. So,
Okay, so it doesn't it's not the end all be all that theory because I don't know what the Democrats were like before 2012. I don't remember hearing about it. I just remember that growing up they were the class of the working party and yada yada.
yeah.
Um, and
Well, it did start to change around that time, though. You're right.
okay,
As far as how they viewed themselves, how they sold themselves to the American people, because in the Bush years, it was this anti-war,
yeah,
and there was a lot of retaliation to the war on terror from the left, right? I mean, Bush had 8 years in office, and then Obama came, and for the first term, he did make it about foreign policy
hmm
because that kind of what one of the major things I mean, obviously him being a black,
yeah.
everyone was going to vote for him anyway. But specifically talking on the issues, I mean, this never-ending war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and people doing the numbers and realizing that all of that is like this feedback loop that leaves us unable to take care of our country, our dilapidated country,
Yeah.
uh, and keep up with the costs. So he really got elected on a anti-war, big change kind of ticket. And in his first term, it was about this foreign policy. In his second term, after Occupy Wall Street, but you're right, coinciding first Occupy Wall Street. Then he started to look a little bit more inwards. We had uh, a lot of social policies that were, even though Obamacare was really what they pushed for in the first term, but a lot of these social policies, gay marriage, and the whole Trayvon Martin incident, and him saying,
Yep.
that could have been a son of mine, basically playing politics with.
So my theory on that is tinfoil cap going on. I think that the divide, because there wasn't really any racism before Obama. And I could be wrong because this is going off purely off of memory, but I don't. When I've looked into it, I can't find the videos that I remember watching. Um, the divide really kicked off after I think it was a Texas National Guard sniper. Um, he was black and he killed a bunch of cops.
Yep.
And Obama went to the funeral and basically blamed the cops for it, saying that it was their fault for being racist. I can't find that video anywhere, and most people don't know what I'm talking about, but I remember it pretty clearly.
Right.
Um,
And
and
by
oh,
the way,
go
that's
ahead.
not isolated incidents. Yeah, there was race was starting to the drumbeat of
Yep.
racial identity politics, um, in a way that is dominant on for the minority at the very least. I mean, white people have played identity politics successfully the entire history of the American
Yeah.
republic, but in a way that there is now this dominant racialized politics, really started to happen under Obama. You're right. So, but like I say, this is something that had been working steamrolling up for this for a while
Long,
because
long before.
right, and you're right. I mean, back in the day, it was less racial. Our politics was, and how we viewed each other, despite the fact that people were obviously like 10 times more conservative than they are now. When you look around at our society, you look at quote unquote conservatives, and they're not actually that conservative. They're
Yeah.
oh, 90s liberals are more
Yep.
conservative than they are.
Yep.
So,
Fully.
uh, we people were more conservative in the 90s. I grew up in the 90s, and on a whole, people were more conservative, but they didn't necessarily see that there was this uh, need to racialize our politics in that way. I think that's the sentiment among common people. I know the levers of politics play race all the time, but it definitely became the mainstay during the Obama years.
So my true theory is that we're actually at the tail end of the most successful psychological operation that started in the Cold War.
Okay.
Uh, I believe that during the Cold War, some people were sent over into our institutions, and it slowly festered and grew into what it is now. Um,
Oh,
and
not even like an obscure theory, by the way. That's something that's a part of intellectual thought that
yeah,
people discuss all the time, actually.
yep.
Yeah,
So
I did. You say Cold War, it coincided with the end of the Second World War,
yep,
the beginning of this Cold War. And like you say, a struggle, a great, not just militarily and military power struggle, but an ideological struggle between um, this Marxist way of thinking and what we ascribe as the free capitalist world. Not as free as you would hope,
yeah.
but yeah, and to your point, there was uh, infiltration of our institutions, our colleges, our nonprofit organizations, and our think tanks. The people that
Yep.
drum up our ideologies. So that's what happened subsequent, and would explain. Look, this is all. People call this conspiracy theory, like it's fake or something, or there isn't an abundance of evidence to
Yep.
support. But it is true that the civil rights movement was part of this titanic ideological struggle as well. It was not random, it was not spontaneous. It was a calculated effort by intellectuals seeking to undermine a particular version of America.
We're
And
we're
you can,
gonna you're gonna have to teach me on that because this part's new to me. But I think that'll be for another topic on another day because that's interesting. What?
yeah, yeah,
Continue.
yeah, and you can look at, well, just look at, and not like this is conclusive evidence at all, but something for you to look into.
Yeah.
Um, but you can look into who wrote Martin Luther King Jr. speeches, who he was surrounded by. He was surrounded by a lot of Jewish intellectuals. Um,
Huh.
and there was a heavy Marxist influence, left wing, left leaning Marxist influence on the civil rights movement at the top level. So,
All right. Um, I guess leaning away from, the attacks on the people that are probably watching right now, because I know some of them are. Um, I guess the most important thing for me is your mentality once it changed to the right.
mm,
How's it changed? Are you happier?
yeah, yeah, because I'm more eager. I'm more eager to. The thing about the silo is that there is no room for growth when you're. This is how I described it when I was on the left. There's not much room for new information. You think you've solved it all. You think you
Wow,
figured. You think, in a sense, right? You
I
follow.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you follow the ideology to its logical conclusions, and you could create like peace on earth or something. That's what they believe. And I am happier knowing that there's no such thing. There's no such thing. Um, if we're responsible for it, there's no such thing. And you open yourself up to learning more, and that makes me happy. So I am happier.
Okay. So, what about in general? Because I've heard people that leave the left, it's not just the fact of learning, but the fact that you aren't on the defensive all the time, the fact that you're no longer a victim all the time, the fact that you're in control of your own life more. Was that all? Is that all true when you swapped over? Did you feel that sense of relief?
Yeah, and in a way, and listen, by the way, this all coincides. I'll say, okay, so I told you about COVID. I told you about starting family. We didn't touch on faith or whatever, but
Nope.
starting to faith and learning more and about that. So yeah, there is a sense of relief, but not less ideologically driven. It's just the fact that when you believe in God and you understand God is in control of it all. Um, it's impossible to view yourself as like a self-perpetuating victim or some kind of cog in a system that has no room to breathe, um, or anything like that, because you have an identity in who you are with God. So yeah, huge relief, man.
So you turned religious after going conservative, or the other way around?
That's a good question. No, my political ideologies do proceed from, um, my faith in God outranks my political.
That
It lives downstream of my faith.
uh,
So
question for you. When you left the left, did you gain a sense of it's not left versus right, it's more up versus down, economic? So poor
yeah,
versus.
not even just on an economic basis. Correct. I like I said earlier, I realize that they're all lying to me. So um, yeah, it's really not about left versus right per se, even though my politics is right leaning and I think it provides the solutions we need to our problems. But ultimately, and I think this is true of a lot of right leaning people, they genuinely think that it's good for everybody, right? To uh, to think in this way, to believe this way, and it'll uplift everybody.
Okay. And just because I know you're asking, um, basically, this is what I was talking about before in the previous video. I know that both Royce and Kareem, both of you guys would be willing, if I said I needed help, you both would be on a plane as soon as possible to help me, and vice versa. And that's why we can have these conversations. And that's why, because I know that you're asking these questions and thinking, hey, well, maybe it's not that far off. it's because the basis of our fundamentals and the foundation of what we believe is the same. That's why you and I were able to debate the other day, and we weren't at each other's throats the entire time because we already had that basis of respect. So that's probably why it sounds so similar. However, and Kareem's already agreed with this. If you're willing, I kind of want to do a me and him and you and someone else that you choose on a thing, and we just talk things out, maybe for an hour at the most this time though. So I think that'd be a lot of fun. I just had to throw that side note just because I'm seeing some comments. Um, so it seems so you have gained a life and a life, a family, success, and a religion, right? And it seems like you're far happier. It seems like you're a straight up man. Um, was there a downside to swapping sides?
Well, I don't know this per se, but I do think people think that I'm crazy. I do think people think that I'm not, or maybe he's unstable or something. It's like that's not true. I just, so I think there is a cost. There's a cost. Nothing that I really care about. Like I say, um, when I'm sure in who I am and my values, it really, it's nothing. Anything I lose, I see as like, okay, then it's not aiding me or anything, right?
Hmm.
So you you look at how some people react to things I say, and a lot of things I say, by the way, are like tongue in cheek, like I'm just fucking with people.
Oh, I know.
I like to rile them up sometimes, you know, all that's fun to me. But they say that it is if I could say something is slightly bothersome, but just because it's so untrue. Um, People are quick to black people. They would be quick to say that I don't care about being black, or you know, the favorite thing is the Uncle Tom thing, which,
Hmm.
by the way, are insults I threw at people myself back in the day.
Yeah.
uh, but now I see it for what it is, and it's like that's so untrue, and that bothers me because the opposite is true. It's like I want what's best for black people for sure because
Yeah.
I'm black. You know what I mean? Like I want what's best for them, and I think that's the easiest cop out is to dismiss somebody and say, "Oh, you're not really of this tribe. You're not really of this kinfolk if you're not agreeing with all these things, right?" And I'm like, "Well, what about all these other things? What about all these other problems? How can we address that? It can't be cops, right? It can't
Yeah.
it cannot be the police. It's not the police.
It's a culture issue.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So
American culture.
what if we start talking about that? That's my question. That's my only question, right? But those conversations are very hard to have.
You know, I I don't think so though. Like I think the only reason that they're hard to have is because we don't establish that foundation of respect and trust. Once you have that foundation, it's very easy.
Dude, it's hard to respect some of these niggas,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. I mean,
You know what I mean? Like they're getting all worked up, they're getting worked up, and they get mad, they start hurling insults, and I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to talk. We're just trying to talk.
yep,
So some of these niggas are hard to respect, first and foremost.
yep.
And yeah, that's a frequent problem. Like some people just don't know how to have a conversation. So
Um, I fully understand. It and it kind of hurts because the what like obviously what I'm trying to do is you can only influence what you can, right? And I only have my circle of friends, which I'm pretty blessed to have such high quality people around me, so I'm a little spoiled in that aspect.
yeah.
So it it makes it easier for me to have that view of, yeah, I can just talk to everybody.
Right.
Um, so again, I understand that comes from a place of
Well,
spoiledness.
try talking to a random dude, man. Try
Yeah.
talking to a random person about this stuff, and you'd be surprised by some of the reactions.
Oh, I do, and yeah, it's hard. So I guess I think we can start wrapping it up. We have been going for almost an hour. Um, is there anything that you would like to say to either people that were in your position and were thinking the way that you did and they are going through it like you did, or anyone to the current right side? Basically, like, again, my audience is very broad. Um, so is there anything that you would like to say?
Um, well, I think people on the right should be more open to some of the more radical voices, um, because I think there's a little bit of wisdom there that this country hasn't seen really. So I do think people on the right need to listen to the far right and hear them out. And people on the left, you gotta jump ship. You guys gotta you guys have to stop doing this, right? Because there are a lot of people on the left who are not crazy. They're not violent. But there is this ratcheting up of um, the extremes of leftism, because it's like a wounded animal. I mean, Kamala was like one of the finishing, but it was dying for a while. You see what I'm saying? Like, we've had 10 years of Trump, so liberal ideology has been beat the fuck up, and it's almost no more, really. I mean, it certainly won't expand. That'll never happen. Um, so I would just advise people on the left to really, I mean, you just gotta. I don't know what sources I could recommend, but you gotta read the other side. Try reading the other side. I think that's good advice. Read the other side, jump ship, save yourself, because it's going down.
Hey, so everybody, thank you for tuning in. I did not expect the turnout that we had. Oh my God. Um, like I keep saying, I'm extremely humbled every time that we do this because I keep seeing new names every time we pop up. I do need to get better on pushing this kind of content out more. I do have a lot on my plate, but I'm just I'm having so much fun with this, and I'm getting to meet old friends and get all these updates. And a lot of you are sending me messages saying that things like this are helping you. And I just really appreciate all of you guys that are watching. Kareem, thank you so much for coming on, man. I highly appreciate you. I am so glad you're doing well and that you're happy. Um,
Yeah, man. Thank
and
you, on. It's really been a pleasure to catch up.
I'm just having an absolute great time with this, and I'm gonna have you on again soon. To everyone else, stay safe, have a good night, and as you can see, if you want to come onto this sometime and share your side of things, I'm absolutely down for it. Like I said, or like I'm showing, there's no gotcha or anything like that. It's just a conversation.